Welcome to sportsbookreview.com. It's the Australian Open 2020 semi-finals for both the men and the women. I've got James and I've got Snize with me. Gentlemen, this is a semi-final that didn't look like being the same way. About, 7 match points Federer saved and Djokovic is just cruising through, James.
Yeah, that was a pretty disgusting match for any Federer fans to watch. I think we're all glad that we've managed to get this matchup, the Federer-Djokovic matchup that we all wanted. But at the same time, Thiem, he's made it hard for himself now, hasn't he? 5 sets again, very nearly lost. Clearly had injury struggles at the end of that. So, yeah, it's not great. Not looking good for Federer fans.
Snize, I was watching the game. He was missing volleys, which he never misses. I think he over 40 unforced errors. He looked tired, fatigued, and how he's come and won that. I think it's more that Sangren lost it.
Yeah, you have to bring on the big shock there. Disgusting match, not only for Federer fans, but for Sangren backers like myself. If you were watching the show, I had a Sangren plus 700 ticket that went down in flames after those 7 choked match points. Federer quoted he had a groin injury, and that affected his movement, his serve, and his forehand. He looked really woeful out there. He was out-aced 27-5 by Tennis Sangren. Some wild numbers just all across the board, and he did not look good. He's in real trouble here against Djokovic.
Okay, well, take me into that first game then, please. And Djokovic.
Yeah, so James mentioned this off camera, but I think this is among the biggest prizes Federer has ever been in his career, and that kind of reflects the story here. That groin injury is a very big concern. He's played 2 5-setters to get here. Novak Djokovic on these courts, they are far too slow for Federer's liking. The balls kind of fluff up, don't really look that good for him as well. And he just looks slow. He hasn't found his forehand. He hasn't found his movement nor serve, and that injury. Djokovic has looked logged in trouble. He's just cruised past every single opponent, including in Formil's round. She went unbroken until Djokovic defeated him in straight sets. I think Roger spent 8 of his 9 lives at least dodging an 8-4 deficit against Millman, and now 7 match points against Sangren. Djokovic hasn't been beaten on outdoor hard court by Federer since 2015. He's won comfortably when they've faced here. You have to go back to 2007 since Federer won one against Djokovic in the Australian Open. So I used to bet the -6.5 here. I think it's a victory going away.
I think it could be straight sets as well.
Yeah, I think it's straight sets.
Okay, so if you do fancy that Federer has run his race, then have a little bit on Djokovic to win in straight sets. I'm sure you're going to get good value on that. Snize, I'm going to stay with you because we've got Dominic Thiem, who obviously put out Rafa Nadal against Zverev.
Yeah, he is looking to make a serious surge toward challenging for slam titles on all surfaces right now, Thiem. He's been obviously the runner-up at the Roland Garros 2 years in a row now, but he's making progress on hard court, and he ousted Nadal in 4 insanely high-quality sets. He was able to do what a younger Nadal and other big three members do. He combined incredible defense with offense from pressure position. He was aggressive with big hitting margins, and he was just outplaying the Spaniard, who just couldn't live with him from the baseline. Zverev, on the other hand, he has been rising. He has been looking a lot better than he has, and pretty much no one saw this run coming after what we saw from the ATP Cup. But apart from his serve, he's been hasn't been that good from the baseline. He's been really, really passive, really just pushing the ball around. I was obviously on Zverev from the last round, but that was more of a situational play against Wawrinka, who I thought would run out of steam, which he did do after the first set. And really just gifted a lot to Zverev in that, who you can just outground him from the baseline. I don't think he's going to be able to do that against Thiem, who will enjoy having the match on his racket, step into the court and hit through him. This is Zverev's first slam semi ever. That will bring a lot of pressure. That will bring a lot of nerves. This is Thiem's 5th. So to me, he's just a better opponent. He's much more experienced at this advanced stage in the big tournaments. And I think that Thiem gets over the line here.
So that's -3.5 games at -107. And you've also gone with Thiem in the set, Snize.
Yeah, I think that there is I have this about a 45% chance that he actually gets it done in straights. I think it's a toss-up between straight sets or 3-1. I think both are good wagers, but I think that Thiem has shown remarkable consistency in his game over the last 12 months or so, while Zverev has been prone to mental lapses, and I think that Zverev will have to rely on an insanely high first serve percentage to have a chance. Even when they faced at the ATP finals just a few months ago, Zverev served an incredible, unsustainable 88% first serve landed, and he still lost in straight sets. So I think he's in trouble here.
Okay, James, the voice of reason, who sits in the corner, but when he speaks, when he opens his mouth, everyone listens.
Well, thank you, Flash. Yeah, so this match, for me, I agree with Snize in a lot of this. I think it's interesting. I didn't actually realize that stat about when they last met, the 88% first serves, because, of course, the most notable thing about this week for Zverev, I would argue he hasn't actually been that impressive from the baseline. He's been a bit flattered by, I mean, Rublev was really quite dreadful from the baseline against Zverev. Stan, as Snize said, very much run out of gas. But Zverev's average over the last 3 years is 65% first serves. And he's run at 79% in this tournament. And in fact, he hasn't gone below 75% for a single match. And we saw this at the tour end. I didn't realize it was quite so extreme against Thiem. But we do see this from Zverev. He's able to have runs where he just can't miss his serve. And in essence, to me, the thing is, over a 5-set match, if someone's serving who's 6'4", I think he is, 6'5", if someone that tall with a good first serve is serving at 80% first serves, I just think 6'6" even, yeah. So I just think he's very likely to put pressure on Thiem. I think it's difficult because Thiem has had the best of this matchup. He's won 6 of the 8 meetings, but 5 of those, they've traded the first 2 sets. It's essentially the kind of matchup where Zverev, who's someone who he generally likes playing the top guys, he's the kind of player who should raise his game for this. He might not. He hasn't been doing that as well recently. But, you know, he beat Federer fairly recently. He's the kind of player, again, who can be dreadful against the low-ranked guys and then really up his game. And so here, the other major thing for me is if you look at Thiem, he's the kind of player, and he showed this to some degree against Rafa, he's so high intensity that it often is difficult for him to maintain that for 3 sets in a row. And if you look at the stats, it really bears that out. I think he's only lost 4 matches when he's priced minus 500 to plus 100 in slams, but he's won in 4 sets, 14 of 37 matches, which is 38%. So again, that's a very, very high number, given that we can get plus 320 in the UK. I think it's plus 300 in the US on Thiem to win 3-1. And again, to me, I just think that's very likely. I think it's unlikely Zverev rolls over, but I do think Thiem's been too good this week, and I think he'll get it done. And the stats suggest probably in 4 sets.
Okay, so we're going with Thiem to win 3-1 against Zverev at 320. And if you want to name your finalists, the boys are going for Djokovic versus Thiem. Okay, let's go over to the women's side. Ashley Barty, we said right at the very, very beginning that with the home crowd, she's going to be dangerous, but she was no value. And here she is in the semi-final. Snize, Barty, does she win it? And secondly, how does she win this game?
No, I don't think she wins the tournament, actually. But I will say she's been really, really impressive. She'll be up against Sonia Kenin in this matchup. And I think that since overcoming Lisa Surenko, really, she was extremely nervous in that first set. She lost that, struggling with the expectation and weight of playing at home. But since then, she's been great. But I do think she gets challenged here. Sonia is one of the game's young rising talents. And she might well break into the top 10 this season. She has a great all-around game, a never-say-die attitude, and she's really, really, really tough to beat. These players have faced a lot already, even though they're both pretty young. They faced 4 times last season, 3 of them on tour, and all of those 3 tour matchups went over this 20.5 line two of them went the full 3 sets. So I'm expecting a battle here. I do think Barty prevails, but to me, the value was on the over. I think this game is one game too low. So minus 121 for the over 20.5. I'll gladly take that.
Okay, and I fancy, James, you'll definitely take that.
Yeah, so I would definitely take that. I mean, I think the over bet for me is definitely a nice bet in this match. It's a good bet statistically for them. I quite liked the slightly more long shot option as well. And to me, this is a few bits of intuition come here, but the stats also back it up. Essentially, I think Barty is playing a bit too well, and she plays a very similar game to Kenin. So it's often difficult when you have two players who play a similar game. It can mean that you get swingy matches, but it often also means that when the better player dials in, they can be quite dominant. And so in this situation, what we've seen in the past with Kenin is effectively that she's very good at pushing these top guys. In fact, she has an excellent record if you'd bet on all of her matches when she was priced over plus 200. But Barty is possibly the most consistent of the elite players when she's the favorite. She very rarely loses. I think she's won 44 of her last 50 when priced under evens, and that is phenomenal. And again, she's the kind of player, she's won 4 of the 5 head-to-head matches and 18 of 21 matches when she's priced as favorite against the top 20 over the past 12 months. So those are excellent numbers. So I am thinking Barty's going to win. But Kenin is a rising star. She's someone who tends to take sets off players. So in 7 of her 17 matches, this is Kenin, priced plus 100 to plus 500 against the top 10. She's lost in 3 sets. So effectively, the stats bear that out really well. If you look at Barty, in 17 of her last 50 matches, priced minus 500 to plus 100, she's won in 3 sets. So again, the stats are really bearing out my intuition about this match, which is that Barty will have to fight for it, but she's very likely to win in the end. And so I like the price of plus 325 on that outcome.
I think everyone likes the price at plus 325, and I think you go over as well. And you could combine them, and you could go with Barty to win and over 21, maybe 20.5 if you look around. James, I'm just going to stay with you. In the other one, in the other matchup, is it Halep?
Okay, so this is when I was looking at these matches. So I've got an article coming out, I should say, tonight, which has a more full breakdown for these bets. And I think the thing about the match between Garbiñe and Simona is that realistically, I just don't know how that's going to play out. I think Muguruza is the underdog. She's, I think, plus 150. And so if I was going to have a bet, I'm usually inclined towards the underdog, especially when I think she's won all of their hard court meetings. She's the kind of player that goes on these rips of form. As Snize pointed out in the last show when he backed Muguruza outright, she's the kind of player you want on side when she's playing well. But I have the difficulty that Simona's playing exceptionally well. I mean, Halep is the kind of player who has a very high peak, and she loves, when she's in form, she loves playing the big hitters. I mean, she showed this at Wimbledon against Serena, and I would say Serena's similar in what she tries to do to Muguruza. They both essentially try and hit you off the court. So if she can dial in and if she hits the lines, Muguruza will almost certainly win that match. But if Halep can defend well and counterpunch well, that's going to be a really, really tricky ask. So yeah, for me, that's much better watch. I think that's going to be a more entertaining match if I had to guess.
No, I couldn't agree more. Snize, I know that you got Muguruza at plus 600. Are you a bit worried about coming up against Simona Halep, or do you think the matchup suits your girl?
I think the matchup on hardcourt definitely suits Garbiñe. She has the weapons, as James mentioned, to hit Halep off the court. And that's been apparent in their 2 hardcourt matchup, and she even won indoors. It's worth noting that she's been the underdog in both of these matches as well, so she hasn't been expected to win, but she's still come out on top. I think on a slower surface, this matchup swings in the favor of Simona, who has won on clay. But on a faster surface, and especially with the way Garbiñe is playing right now, I do think that she will still come out on top. So I would recommend, if you don't have her outright, to back her here. I think that Simona hasn't really played anyone that has the kind of weapon and skill sets that that Garbine does. When she did, Jennifer Brady in round 1, she struggled massively and should have lost the first set and perhaps be on her way out of the tournament. I think that Garbine, she has the game, she has the consistency when she's in form, and she most of all has the big game mentality. She has the double slam titles, and she has the experience at this advanced stage to be able to pull this win off.
Okay, well, it looks. I'm just like wanting to fast forward because obviously I'm going to see you both. Well, Kappa's going to join us as well on Friday. We're going to go right the way through the men's and the women's finals. I'm just going to sit back on Friday and let you all take your view, take your breakdown. But let's hope that we see Djokovic versus Thiem and Muguruza versus Barty, and Barty wins 2-1 for everyone to be happy and look forward to Friday. James, I thank you. Snize, top man. I'll see you both soon.
Thanks a lot, Flash.
See you on Friday.
Okay, so that's James and Snize taking us through the semi-finals. They'll be looking forward to the finals, especially if their future bets hit. Remember, Snize is on Djokovic and Muguruza. And when James puts up plus 300s in both his selections, you want to be following. Look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Premier League punters, it's a great card. I'll see you soon.